Oh, here we go. We are live. Not in concert. We are just live, sort of, here on Boles.tv. Hey, it's Boles.television. BOLES.tv. It's David Boles here with you, coming to you live from the East Coast of these United States. Now, I look very tan, and it's very dark all around me. And I know that. And I'm leaving it that way. Because most of the show, I'm going to be showing you stuff. So I'm not really going to be here with this face very much. But the reason everything is so dark is because technology sucks. For the lack of a better word. Let me show you. This is my new shirt. This is my Columbia Lions football shirt. There it is. I guess these are cartoon characters. I'm old, so I don't know. Called Rick and Morty. And Columbia kids were raising money for something. Said, hey, buy our shirt, buy our shirt. And they had all kinds of cool shirts and sweatshirts and jackets. For a limited time, we could buy this. Probably limited time because they would get shut down by the copyright people. But hey, it's Columbia, 1752. In your light, shall we see the light? And I said, okay. So I got this sweatshirt for myself. I got a beautiful t-shirt for the darling Jana Marie Sweetheart. And as I sit here and ponder, getting ready for the show, I see, gosh, it looks really dark in here today. Can't see anything in back. My lights here are barely blinking. But I do look tan. And it's because it's dark in here. Now, I could up the lights, but believe it or not, it's kind of a complicated thing. And the reason I look so dark is because of this shirt. I have everything technically set up on the back end to automatically just work. The focus. Now see, the color's changing already. The focus, see, the color's better. The color is better. The color's better, right? And now it's starting to get yellow. Now it's really yellow. And we don't know why. Well, the why is because of this light baby blue, powder blue Columbia Lions sweatshirt. If this were indeed black, we wouldn't have a problem. I'm looking for something black to show you. But that's what's going on. These cameras are supposed to automatically balance the white. And as you can see, they're not balancing anything. Now, I wonder if I could change cameras, if you could see the big difference. Because I have a different camera. It's not quite as good as this one. But it will give you a shock. Let's see if I can change it. Meow! Now, this is our other camera. This is our old camera. And as you can see, it maybe handles white balance better. Now, this is blown out, as they say technically. I've lost my tan, and you can see my real green, ugly, pale face. The lights over here are not really looking like lights, more like reflections. In the back, not reflections. So, which is better? Can we get this to a higher FPS? No. Locked at 30. So here we go. Here we are. This is what we look like. With a non-white balanced camera. Now, what would happen if we went back to our other camera? Meow. Dark, right? But you can see the lights. Now, what if we lowered... Oh, we're at a lower FPS. What if we made it a little higher? Do we like that or not like that? Let's see what happens. Do we like that or not like that? Let's see what happens. I just repeated myself, trying to freak you out. No, it's not the Matrix. It's Boles.tv. It's BOLES.television. So even though this is darker and more mysterious and more awfuler than the other camera of myself that we just turned on, the other camera was a Logitech Brio, which is, 3 or 4 years out of date. And the new camera is the Elgato Facecam Pro, which does have a better definition and a better autofocus. But as you can see, once you lock in your settings, it's supposed to automatically white balance. And it's supposed to automatically focus on things that are important. Like that. So now we're in focus. Takes a while. And this is the fun of doing a live stream. You never know what's going to happen. You never know who or what's going to show up to put a gremlin in your day. And today's gremlin is the shirt that I'm wearing. And the choice was, do I wear this or do I put on my black shirt? Because black, dark colors work really great with our setup. And I said, heck no, I'm going to be wearing this. We'll deal with the darkness and we'll deal with the tan. I do like the tan look, though. It's alarmingly charming. So here we go on why this is really not that important, because we're going to do a lot of this today. We're going to be sharing stuff, reading stuff. So that's going to be really bright. And I'm going to be sitting here with my lions, with my beautiful tan and the hair that you can no longer see, talking about interesting things. So this idea that we have in America for like the past 5, 6, 7, 8 years, connected to the rise of Donald Trump, by the way, is this whole idea of Twosidesisms. And we see it really dramatically going on in the war with Hamas. And the world, not just Israel, the world is at war with Hamas. They are terrorists, right? We're not talking about the Palestinian people, although some argue, look, Palestinian people live among Hamas. Hamas runs the Palestinian state. So can you separate between the Palestinian and Hamas? I don't know. I'm not that smart. But these are the questions that are being raised. And almost immediately, distractingly, there were people in America, right after Hamas killed 1,000 Israelis, they went out and said, oh, we have to be pro-Palestine. Now, I live in New York City, work in New York City, in and around and about. And I have a lot of Jewish friends, a lot of Jewish bosses, acquaintances, more than I ever had growing up in the Midwest. I mean, maybe the 1 or 2 Jewish people that I knew in 23 years of living in Nebraska. And in New York City, as Mayor Adams said, that the highest percentage of Jews living in the world, number 1 is Israel, and number 2 is New York City. So when you hear about protests in Times Square in New York City, and people protesting against Israel for the Hamas terrorist attack against Israel, you think, what is going on? The world is flipped upside down. What's right is wrong, what's wrong is right. And you can directly tie this to what's been going on politically in the United States for the past 5, 6, 7, 8 years with the rise of Donald Trump. But before we get to that, this is our old intellectual friend, Bob Lefsetz. And this is the letter he writes. You can get it in your email box. And we like Bob a lot. He is Jewish, not, I would say, radically Jewish, but he doesn't hide that he's a Jew. And he writes about it often. And when this terrorist attack in Israel came out, Bob said, well, because this reader said, Bob, what do you think? And Bob said, well, I really don't want to talk about it because it's not going to go well for me as Bob, because I'm going to be attacked no matter what I say for being a Jew. And I guess his supporters said, Bob, you have to say something because this is what you do. You take on difficult topics and you make them accessible to everyone. So Bob wrote a little thing about Israel, and it was very simple. This is wrong, this is right. And then he got sandblasted by all these nasty people who subscribed to his letter, who completely and actually hate Bob. And as Bob often does, he published those hate letters in his follow-up email saying, see, I was right. No matter what I say, I'm wrong because I'm a Jew. So yesterday, after this Twosidesism stuff is going on in the media, on college campuses, oh, we have to protect Palestine. Hamas is the one who attacked Israel. Bob has had enough. And I will post the link to this Left Sets letter in our Discord server. And I just want to share with you a couple of things that Bob said. The Israelis can't win. Bob says, I'm sick and tired of both sidesisms employed by everyday celebrities as a pulpit. I'm looking at you, John Oliver. Never mind the silent musicians, fearful of alienating just one fan. Of course, innocent people in Palestine will die, and I can't find a single person who wants them to die. I certainly don't, Bob says, but that didn't stop the U.S. when it invaded Iraq. Relative to population, tens more people died in Israel than in 9/11. Did we hear people rising up in the wake of that tragedy telling us to learn our lesson? That we were the oppressors and we should just ponder destruction and take no action? No. We had a government that decided to enter Iraq under false premises. Never mind what happened in Afghanistan. And nearly the entire country was behind those U.S. actions. But, Bob writes, when it comes to Israel, with a history of terrorist attacks upon its soil and against its people, well, they should just eat it. And they should stand down, because innocent civilians will be killed in Gaza. What kind of bizarre world do we live in where that plays? It's an excellent question. I'm shocked watching the news, reading the newspaper, hearing what's going on, because it doesn't make any sense. Bob goes on, let me see. Someone keeps breaching your property line. Do you just take it? But, Bob says, everybody hates the Jews. Oh, don't argue with me. Coded anti-Semitism is rampant. And the only people who care are the Jews themselves who've been subject to it. Well, I do care, Bob, but I understand your point. Bob goes on to say, I certainly have throughout my life. Right now, there is anti-Semitic BS in my inbox. And he shares that with us. And you cannot believe how vicious and filthy people are sending someone an email. I do believe it because I've seen it. Bob goes on to say all about the eradication of the kikes. But Bob says, I live in a civil society, so I should just endure it. Because after all, there are good people on both sides. And that is the problem. That is where we are in America. The sky is blue. And some nut across the street will say, no, the sky is really green. And the way it goes today, the newspaper people, the media, television, social media will arrive on the scene and say, this man claims the sky is blue. But across the street, his neighbor, who is an intellectual, says the sky is green. Who's right? Let's investigate. And they don't talk to the person who knows the sky is blue. Oh, no. All the attention goes to the nut living across the street saying the sky is green. Well, we have to hear his side. It's important. Twosidesisms. His side, your side. We heard you and all your science and history. Well, maybe he found something new. Maybe the sky really is green and we just don't know it yet, and this person is a genius. And we have to catch up to him. He doesn't have to kowtow to our science and technology. This is the attitude we now have in America. And it's foolish and it's ridiculous. And it has been trumped and pushed and triumphed by Donald Trump and this MAGA movement. And it started with the whole stolen election lie that has infected our country like a cancer, and it is eating us from the inside out. And normally, when you have that kind of ridiculousness, that kind of complete and outrageous lie, those people are cut off from society. They are ignored. They are not believed. And we publicly shame them. You're out. You cannot be a part of normal human society because there is something wrong with you. Just like the whole vax thing, the COVID thing, and all these conspiracies, and Bill Gates, and how 5G gives you cancer, and Bill Gates is trying to control you. I mean, it's absolutely insane and ridiculous. And yet, social media doesn't censor it, doesn't call it out. The mainstream media, well, now maybe Bill Gates is involved with this 5G thing. Maybe Donald Trump is right, and maybe the election was stolen. Stick around and find out as we investigate here on the evening news. And you sit there and you think, what has happened to the world in which I live? Where people who lie and cheat and steal are given the same platform, the same equality as someone who is telling you the truth. It doesn't make any sense. But these crazy people, these insane people, these nutcases are encouraged. They're listened to. They're given attention. Oh, tell us more about this green sky of which you speak, kind sir. And then, nothing is real. Nothing is true. Everything's a lie. No one believes anything. And as I'm speaking to you right now, somewhere in Washington, D.C., a tragedy is about to happen. Maybe. And that tragedy is this. Jim Jordan might just become the next Speaker of the House. And now we know the world is upside down, that wrong is right and right is wrong, and the moral have become immoral. A man like Jim Jordan becoming the Speaker of the House is absolutely the epitome of Twosidesisms. Jim Jordan has a sexual cover-up harassment problem when he was a coach in his past. He was a major player on January 6th in the revolution to overthrow the United States of America. Best friends with Donald Trump, very proud. He talks to him every day. And we're going to have a man like that be the Speaker of the House of Representatives? It makes you want to say, I've had enough. When is the charade going to be over? When is the clown car going to finally empty and we can get back to our lives? If the president dies or is removed from office, the vice president takes over. If the vice president dies or is removed from office, the next person in line for the presidency of the United States of America is the Speaker of the House. Jim Jordan as President of the United States? We would have nothing. He's never invented anything. He's never said yes to anything. All he does is tear things down. And those kind of people like him, the MAGA people, love him to death. And he is a danger to society, and he is a danger to democracy, and he's a danger to all of us. And we need to stand up, and we need to say something. And you don't think he becomes a speaker, there's going to be increased threats against the lives of the president, vice president? Because some nut thinks, gosh, if I get rid of those two, then we can have Jim Jordan as president of these United States. I mean, you know it's being talked about right now on social media. There are whisper campaigns going on about it right now. Oh, Matt, just think what would happen. Absolutely ridiculous, absolutely sickening. That a low moral man like Jim Jordan would be able to hold such an important role in the government of these United States. Up is down, down is right. This is the green sky believer. Representative Jim Jordan of Ohio picked up steam on Monday in his bid to become Speaker, winning over several of his biggest opponents in the fractured GOP ranks, even as deep reservations remain about elevating him to the top post in the House. It can't happen. Someone has to stop him. And it's not going to be Democrats, because Democrats, rightly so, are saying, oh gosh, this is really good for us in 2024 because Jim Jordan is a nut. He behaves like a nut. He's outrageous. He's Donald Trump Jr., doppelganger. And we're going to let him go there and destroy everything and then, elect Democrats in 2024 and we'll get it done. Well, that's fine and interesting, but what are the rest of us going to do until the election is over? What are we going to do for a year with the MAGA nut as the Speaker of the House? As a normal, regular, average American, you've got to think, well, it will never happen. It's not possible that the Republicans would nominate and then elect a low-character person like Jim Jordan to be Speaker of the House. But then you think back, it's impossible for Donald Trump to ever be president of the United States. The good people, the moral people, will step forward and stop him because he is an insane maniac. And Hillary Clinton, while being pilloried, is at least a thoughtful, well-educated, experienced person for the job. Well, how wrong were we then? So don't think that the impossible can't happen. Don't think that evil won't rise above and conquer the good. Because it has happened in history, and it will happen again. And somebody has to stop it. Several mainstream Republicans who had said they would not countenance a vote for Mr. Jordan, the hardline co-founder of the ultra-conservative House Freedom Caucus, freedom, right, fell into line after a pressure campaign by his right-wing allies. So we're dealing with cowards. People who know what to do, people who know how to stand up and do the right thing, are too frightened to do the right thing. They don't want to lose their next election. They want Donald Trump to like them. They want votes. What has happened to America where that is the standard for governance? We don't want people mad at us who can hurt us. We don't want to do the right thing. We don't want to make America a better place to live. We just want to tear everything down and say how proud we are of it. Their reversals suggest that Mr. Jordan was within striking distance of the 217 votes. He would need to be elected in a planned vote around noon on Tuesday. But the outcome remained far from certain. So maybe we'll go to the front page and see if there's any news on the House Speaker election. Now, isn't this terrible? You're a member of the New York Times, right? And you pay, but you're not paying enough. They want you to pay a little bit more. They want you to pay 50 cents more a week. So anytime you click on a new article, this pops up. Oh, we need more money. You're already paying us, but we want a little bit more. Really annoying. This is the latest news. The right-wing hardliner from Ohio has won over several of his most vocal opponents, but he can only lose a handful of Republican votes and still win the position. At least he doesn't look confident here. If he looked confident and happy, I'd be scared. And maybe sanity will apply to a few Republicans who will say, you know, it's an interesting idea to pick Mr. Green Sky to lead us, but maybe we should find someone who does believe the sky is blue. Maybe that's a better way to go. Okay, updated 5 minutes ago. Representative Jim Jordan of Ohio is grasping for the votes he needs to be elected Speaker on Tuesday. But the outcome is far from certain. Mr. Jordan, the right-wing hardliner, who co-founded Blah Blah Meow, a number of mainstream Republicans who said they could not countenance a vote choice an ally. Okay, we've already heard that. So what's our update? As the House floor fills up, there are former members and even some current senators in the chamber. Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, a Republican of Oklahoma, has chatted with his members in the back. This is going to be an interesting day in the life and the history of America. And if someone like Jim Jordan becomes Speaker of the House, look out for 2024 because you got a new train coming down the track. And it's the old steam engine known as Donald Trump as he races back into the presidency. Now we're going to take a very brief little break here, catch our breath, because the thrills are not over. Returning in a moment. Hey, we're back from break. Here on Boles.tv, it's Boles.television. Coming to you live and in concert from the East Coast of the United States. Well, why is it dark in here? Why do you look so tan? Why can't we see any of the lights? Well, it's all true. It's this, my Columbia Lions shirt that I showed you earlier. It's too light a color for our technical setup. What does that mean? That means you can't see me very well. That means I'm sitting here in the dark with you or without you. So next time it'll be better because I'll go back to wearing my dark shirts and everything will look splendid again. But for today, we're having fun. We're being technologically inappropriate, which kind of fits the theme for today's show, right? So I've been talking about Jim Jordan becoming Speaker of the House. Here are the live updates. It's really fascinating. Representative Victoria Spartz, a Republican of Indiana, said walking into the House chamber that she'd vote present, not for, not against, just present, if Jordan doesn't have the votes. That would lower the threshold of votes Jordan needs to capture by one, as he needs a majority of those present and voting for or against. So why don't you just take a side? Why vote present? Which means I'm neutral. I'm here. I'm not going to tell you if I'm up or down. Another update, as the House floor fills up, there are former members and even current senators in the chamber. Oh, we already read that one. Oh, this must be the other update. Steve Scalise, who won the initial internal vote among Republicans to become the next speaker, but was then undercut by allies of Jim Jordan, has entered the chamber wearing a mask as he fights blood cancer. Insane. Totally insane. So we've talked about things being up and down, how the nut across the street who says the sky is green is given just as much attention in the media and in real life and on social media as the person who lives on the other side of the street saying, no, the sky is blue. Well, let's investigate that green sky because it just might be true. And we talked about this in relationship to Israel and Hamas and how there are protests going on college campuses, not because of what happened to Israel, but because they want to support Hamas and the bombing they did of Israel. So, you sit here, you're awestruck by what is going on. So the Harvard Crimson, a student-run newspaper, as students face retaliation for Israel statements, a doxing truck displaying students' faces comes to Harvard campus. Now, isn't that interesting? A billboard truck a few days ago drove through the streets surrounding Harvard's campus last Wednesday and Thursday, digitally displaying the names and the faces of students who allegedly affiliated with student groups that signed onto a controversial statement supporting the Hamas attack on Israel. Now, these students are upset. Why are you sharing my name and my face? Because I signed this petition pro-Hamas, pro-terrorist. They want that. That's why I've never understood why when you're online, in social media or on Discord or wherever, and you use Reddit, and you use a fake name. Oh, I don't want people to know who I am. Why? Oh, I'm scared. I might be retaliated against. Well, what are you saying that people would want to retaliate against you for? That's why everywhere I go online, I use my real name. So if I say something that people find offensive or triggering or they like, they know exactly who, what, when, where, and why they are dealing with. They're dealing with me. And they sometimes contact me and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they dismiss me. Sometimes they like me. But they know who they're dealing with. They can look at my history. They can look me up online. They can see what's going on. It's all there. I own what I say. Well, these students supporting terrorist Hamas don't want anyone to know who they are. They want to support the terrorists in secret. Well, in a civil society, that's not going to go. You got to know who's on your side and who's not on your side. You need to know those who are hoping to kill you versus those who want to help you. The Harvard Crimson continues. Amid continued national backlash and doxing attacks, at least 9 of the original 34 co-signing Harvard students as of Thursday evening had withdrawn their signatures from the statement. Well, isn't that interesting? A little public pressure, a little attention, and they go running. Originally penned by the Harvard Undergraduate Palestine Solidarity Committee that called Israel entirely responsible for the violence against Israel. In a later statement, the PSC wrote that it staunchly opposes violence against all civilians. Well, a little too late for that. You can't have it both ways. You can't say one thing and then later say, oh yeah, well, I mean just the opposite. Not happening. By Tuesday evening, at least 4 online sites had the personal information of the students linked to clubs that had signed on to the statement, including full names, class years, past employment, social media profiles, photos, and hometowns. Why not? You want to support a terrorist? This is the real world hitting you back. Now, I wish we had this same kind of thing going on in Washington, D.C. You wish you had people standing up and really going against people like Jim Jordan and these other people who would say the sky is green when we all know the sky is blue. So what else happens with this Twosidesisms, where everyone's equal? Every nutty idea is just as good, just as acceptable as the truth. What happens then to a society? Here's one example. This is an article I've been saving for a while. I thought, no, this is perfect time to share it, because this goes to exactly what happens in real life when the good people don't stand up to these moral deficits. The people with a decayed moral value. The sky is green, I'll fight you to the death. And most average people would say, well, I don't want to fight over the color of the sky because I know it's blue. If you think it's green, go ahead and think that way. And that's a problem, because they want to fight you, but you don't want to fight them. And they threaten to shoot you. They threaten to hurt you. They threaten to set your home on fire. And we saw that recently with the reversal of Roe versus Wade. And it's taken some time. And now we know what happens when you don't stand up to the green sky people. No OBGYNs left in town. What came after Idaho's assault on abortion? It's a scene out of an American dream. A stretch of city beach buzzes with young families playing and laughing under the hot afternoon sun. Moms chasing after children, splashing in the shallow ripples of Lake Pend Oriel. We are on the outskirts of Sandpoint, Idaho, a quiet, charming lakeside town in the Mountain West. From the idyllic scenery and bustling beach, you wouldn't know this place recently overwhelmed with anxiety, grief, and fear born of state politics. That's why elections matter. That's why you have to stand up and do the right moral thing and fight the people who want to hurt you. Across Idaho, doctors are leaving, looking for states where politics don't dictate how they practice medicine. The consequences of Idaho's anti-choice laws hit Sandpoint fast and hard. Hollowing out medical care for women within months. For years, the town had a maternity ward that delivered as many as 350 babies every year. Now, it has nothing. You get nothing. The OBGYN ward shut down this spring, and doctors have been fleeing the state in a steady stream. seeking shelter in places where their work doesn't put them at risk of criminal charges or big lawsuits. Makes sense, right? Why would I stay where I'm not wanted? Why would I stay as a doctor in a town who accuses me of killing babies and hurting women? You know, I think I'll just go to a different place where they welcome my expertise. Idaho is one of several states that had trigger laws. Immediate abortion restrictions that went into effect when Roe v. Wade fell a year ago. In August of 2022, the state enacted a near-total ban on abortion, with exceptions only if the mother's life was in danger or in the case of rape and incest. Those instances required a police report to be filed. The state also adopted what it called an abortion trafficking ban, which bars taking minors to other states for abortion care. So if you're in Idaho, you're going to stay in Idaho. You're imprisoned within the bounds of the state. Family members can sue doctors for thousands of dollars if they perform an abortion, and doctors may face criminal fines and even prison time. Just absolutely shocking. Dr. Amelia Huntsberger moved to Sandpoint 11 years ago with her husband, planned to put down roots, build a medical practice, and stay through retirement. She's an OB/GYN. Her husband, an emergency room doctor. They both grew up in small cities in northwest United States, so Sandpoint was a natural fit for them. Well, this July, the Huntsberger's home on a winding road on the edge of town was filled with movie boxes. By the end of summer, by now, they are gone, starting over in Oregon. Starting over with new jobs, new schools for their 3 kids, practicing medicine in a state that doesn't leave them vulnerable to arrest or lawsuits for saving their patients' lives. This is not what they wanted or planned, but as Huntsberger explains through intermittent tears across her patio table, leaving Idaho became their only way forward. And this is a long, beautiful, fascinating article from The Guardian. I will post this in our Discord server, discord.gg/BOLES. Huntsberger, the doctor, has become an unlikely activist, a doctor who decided she had no choice but to speak out when the state interfered with her ability to treat her patients. When asked if she'll really leave that behind in Oregon, she laughs. A quick respite from our deadly serious conversation about consequences for families in Idaho and what losing medical care will mean. It's hard to imagine she'll stop speaking out about consequences of anti-abortion legislation. Nobody knows if their pregnancy is going to be uncomplicated or complicated. Nobody sets out to have a complicated pregnancy. Things happen, some of which can be predicted, some which cannot. So you have a little bit of a component of Russian roulette, the doctor said. Being pregnant is always more dangerous than not being pregnant. So this is where we are. The world is spinning out of control, especially in America. But this is what you get when you get conservative politics. And people get what they deserve. So let's take a look. What's the latest? Representative Hakeem Jeffries is now being nominated by Representative Pete Aguilar as the Democrat candidate. Both parties are able to put forward their choices, but Republicans have a majority of the vote, so they'll win. And again, Pete Aguilar nominating Hakeem. When Stefanik quoted the Book of Esther, Democrats in the chamber groaned. When she attacked President Biden, they audibly groaned again when Stefanik referenced Jordan's success on the wrestling mat. Democrats laughed and jeered. Exactly. She's tried to celebrate him for the very thing that's going to bring him down. Stefanik talks about weaponization of the federal government in her nomination of Jordan. I mean, it's just shocking. Where are the rational people? I need blue sky believers. Aguilar accuses Jordan of inciting violence on the chamber, referring to efforts to rally lawmakers to vote to overturn President Biden's victory in 2020. In remarkably direct language about another lawmaker seldom heard on the House floor. So today's going to be an interesting day. Is this man going to actually be elected Speaker of the House of Representatives? I hope not, but I'm also a realist. And I know in our society today that Twosidesisms, both sidesisms, everybody's right, everybody has the right to speak, anything goes today in America. I find it dangerous and ridiculous, and I urge you to do the average, correct, fair, moral thing. And you know what that is. Vote. Do it right. Get it right. Because if you don't participate, people who believe in the green sky will. And that's how they win, and that's how they gain power. So until next time, I thank you so much for being here. I'm David Boles. This is Boles.tv. I will see you again soon. Be in touch. Find me. Say hello.